I just made a general. No, I did. Yes. Thank you. So you're gonna do the final shift? Okay, good.
I was supposed to be at York universities in Germany. For the from
Until we have until do you have any other questions?
Okay.
Yeah. Great, thank you. It's almost time to start. It's almost 10 o'clock. If you're in the room, please be seated. Yes. Hello, everyone. Hello. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's 10 o'clock. We have until noon to do our local elections debate this year. Can I get a round of applause for our candidates? I will talk briefly about what's going to happen and tell you who I am and what to expect. And after that, I won't talk much. I will let them do their talking. Okay. first things first, my name is Dr. Bilge Susumer. I am a faculty member at the Department of History and Political Science here at New Mexico Highlands University. It's my 4th year teaching here, and I'm very happy to be working and teaching in Las Vegas. I love this community. And when this community members and multiple groups came to our department to ask for sponsorship and support to do these election debates, I was very delighted. So our department have done these debates, hosted these debates before, and I want to do a quick shout out to one of our former faculty members who passed away in last April, Dr. Elaine Rodriguez, who was also a council person in Las Vegas City, and have served the Highlands University Political Science Department for almost 2 decades. She's not with us here today, but it was in her spirit that our department has started to host and sponsor these kinds of events. So may her memory be a blessing to all of us. So next, we're going to have each candidate talk 5 minutes, and they will be asked to stop talking after 5 minutes so the others can talk. They will introduce themselves, and after that, you will get the chance to ask questions. What will happen is there are, I think, cards, right? There's going to be cards around. You can write your questions in these cards. There is there's pens too, and the questions will come here. I will read it out loud to the candidates. They will each have 2 minutes to respond to these questions, and then we'll go to the next question, and that will end until noontime. Before we proceed, do you have any questions, anything that is not clear?
Where the bathrooms?
Excuse me? Don't worry, the bathrooms are outside. You take the right, I think. Yes. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, what's the address? They said it was on my street.
Okay. Right now, I'm sorry about this. We do not have the best video and audio visual technology in this room. What do I mean by that? We don't have good microphones for recording the sound. But it is true, right now I am recording this conversation on Zoom, and I am also live streaming it on Facebook. I've already heard the sound quality isn't as good. I am hoping that the speakers who are closer to the microphone will get their voices heard via the online channels as well. But worst case scenario, we will have the Zoom meeting, and I will put the recording up online for anyone else to watch it later.
Sir, just a suggestion, it would have been nice if you would have had, and you already addressed it, but a PA system with microphones for yourself and the candidates, with speaker systems, so that we can all hear loud and clear what the answers are of the candidates. But sorry.
My good sir, I am 100% with you on that. I do not know why this room does not have a PA system. We assume that because this building was recently renovated, there would be one, but yesterday I learned there isn't, and I'm very, very sorry about that.
Well, that's an invitation for all of you to come closer, just to make it a little bit more intimate, and then we can hear each other better. So thank you. Just move up, please.
Any final questions about this?
Where are you gonna post the link so that we can share it with people who wanted to be here, even if it's not perfect?
Probably on YouTube.
On YouTube?
Yes.
Okay. And what should I look for? Because there's a lot of YouTube. Give me a hint.
Or just post the link on Facebook.
I will, yes, we have Facebook to post the links where you can find the YouTube link. Okay. I will make sure that you can have access to it. We have more seats in the front, please, if you want to come over so that people who are coming in late can sit and not disturb while we're talking. That would be very nice. Okay. All right then. Okay, without any further ado, Romero, would you like to go first?
If that's what the ladies.
All right. A round of applause for Mayor David Romero.
So, welcome everybody. I think it's important, first of all, thank you to everybody that's put this. First of all, welcome everybody. Thank you to everybody that, participated in putting this forum together. It's important that, our community knows the differences between the three candidates here. But I will openly, I want to make this clear. I wasn't invited to this forum officially by the groups. It took me to reach out to ask if I was invited. I wasn't invited until last week, and I think, and I hoped and ask that I know that there's individuals, that put this together that are strong supporters of one of the candidates here, and I ask that me and Jaylene are afforded a fair and unbiased opportunity to give our discussions here. So I'll first of all ask you that.
May I say something? We did send you an invitation along with everyone. They were emailed, and I'm sorry that you didn't get it. I don't know why you didn't get it, but you were invited. I assure you, there is no effort to be unfair here.
And that's all I ask. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, no, you were invited. There wasn't.
Thanks everyone for clarifying this.
So with that, my name is David Romero. I'm born and raised in this community, educated in this community. I do want to state that I have over 20 years of public service in this community. I'll go ahead and start off, my first involvement in this community started off as a PTA member in the community within the West Las Vegas schools. I then, went on to serve with the West Las Vegas School Board, which I served for 2 terms. From that point, I continue to still be involved. I was involved in the state, the Secretary of PED. I was involved in her Education Study Committee. From that point, I moved on to City Council, where I've served for 7 years. In 2023, we had a resignation from Mayor Louis Trujillo. At that time, I do want to thank my colleagues that afforded me the opportunity and appointed me mayor of the city of Las Vegas, and I've done that for 10 years. I was educated here. I know that in this debate, the education might come up, but I will say, as many of us are residents here in Las Vegas, a lot of us went through the trades. A lot of us went through trade school, and we specialized in specific, what would earn our money in the future. I went on and got educated in automotive. I got ASE certified in automotive, specifically brakes and undercar systems, which I've been a business member along with my father for over my participation has been over 30 years, but it's been a business in the community almost 50 years. So I do want to address that part on the education part. As far as, public service, I have actively been involved in many institutes and leadership programs, one being the Hunt Institute, which is a nonpartisan leadership institute. Recently, I was MOLI certified for New Mexico Municipal League. I have been trained through New Mexico DFA, which DFA is a financial institution of the state with finances. I don't know how much time I have left, but I'm very, very active and committed to serving this community. I make sure that I make educated decisions. What I also do is I make sure that what we're encountering here, I'm big on networking and building relationships. And I think what stands out here, between myself and the other 2 candidates is my network, the network that I have, and the connections that I have, not only here locally, but also state and federally. I've had the opportunity to work with legislators, and I think in the past 2 years you have seen that. As you guys are making your decisions here today, I do want to ask you, ask yourself, is this community better than what we were 2 years ago? And I can honestly say, not only with just what I've done, but it's taken a team effort, and that team effort, I thank the colleagues that I have on the city council, but also the employees of the city of Las Vegas. Many times they're criticized in this community for not doing enough, but I will tell you that they are hard workers. And if you have to be in the trenches to understand what they really do. For the longest time, we were understaffed. And I can honestly say within the past 2 or 3 months, we have hired over 40 individuals to work for the city of Las Vegas. A lot of good things are happening, and I'm welcome the opportunity to not only praise the record that we've had here in the city of Las Vegas. Many things are happening, and when we get to those questions, I'll gladly answer those. Thank you.
All right. Next speaker is, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Jaylene Quiles and my pronouns are they and them. I am a two-spirit, trans, non-binary, LGBTQI marginalized community member of Las Vegas, New Mexico. We all deserve a safe community. Bienvenidos, thank you to everybody to come here and support, the next mayor. My campaign is focused on the issues that matter most to the community as a whole. My goal is to present a strong vision for the future centered around the community. Key issues are jobs, public school, public safety, and fire flooding recovery, water, utilities. And these are the key issues that I like to bring upon in this campaign, my campaign of truth and legacy. Thank you to my wonderful familia. Thank you to the host, the community, and especially my mother for all being courageous and staying here and trying to make it work for all these years. So thank you for that. And I'd like to say also that I'm hearted of Las Vegas, New Mexico. I'm proud to run for a candidate mayor of 2025 for the community because I'm different, I'm diverse. I face adversity in here. I face injustices here. And I am from here. I went to both schools. I went to Luna. NMHU is where I took my first credits to get into school. I wasn't given a chance in our school systems. So Albuquerque School of UNM invited me to get a scholarship to open and co-found the first women's rugby team. So that's what we did. And it was full of individuals all over the world that were diverse and people that I've never met that I'm glad to have right now, because that's our resilience. It's our turn to pass on the resilience to our next generation. Let's make a plan that works. Why are utilities so high? And, why are certain things not being attended to, fast and expedited? I want to say thank you to the small businesses, the survivors of the fires, the elderly, the veterans, people facing housing issues, health crisis, AIDS crisis. There's high premiums going on right now. The government shut down. We're facing displacement from the fires and flooding. We're facing a lot of adversity and challenges between rentals and mortgages and the banks, and our families deserve better than this. We have survived by the hands of our oppressors, and they still want more from us. We don't have any more. Our lands are not for sale. We are not going to put profit over the people. We need to tend to the people first and not tend to profit or other entities that are not providing in-kind business, and in-kind profit to our community. Our city development is outdated. Our city, communication is outdated. There's no transparency. We need to engage in the willingness to provide assistance when needed. Equity and inclusion. I want to feel safe in my community. I want to have the right to feel safe and to be safe in my community. I don't want to face injustices. The last 40 years have been nothing but injustices in our community. And I serve civility. I serve our people. I'm out there serving the people, working with the people. There's no organizations. There's no privilege. There's no popularity. I'm not here for a popularity contest. I'm here to do a job. And education is recovery. We need education to recover from these fires and floodings that still have our neighbors in drenches of water up to their knees. Their houses are not livable. There are people suffering in our community, and we need to bold forward thinking together and take these challenges together. not have best friends, not have the criticism of metote, but to talk to one another, to learn communicate, and to learn healing. We need to learn healing with one another. When you respect somebody, that's starting the healing. But together, we need to do more. Enough is enough. I am Jaylene Quiles. I am 2025 mayoral candidate-elect. I'm from here, I love here, and I'm gonna die here. So thank you for your time and thank you for coming.
I'm gonna give a minute, folks, if you wanna take the minute to sit down, those who are just coming in, please, so we don't have a lot of hustling and bustling sounds. Patience, floor is yours.
Thank you. I will stand because it's easier to project standing, and being a teacher educator, it's easier to have some interaction. I would like to start. My name is Katrin Scholzwart, and I'm a mayoral candidate for the community for 2025. And I am very grateful for all of you to have come and made this time this morning. And I also would like to share a number of personal stories. Maybe you all have had a chance to look at some of the handouts, and on my website, there is a number of information on there as well. But what I would really like to do is I would like to start with a personal story. When I arrived here in January 2022, starting at the United World College with a new position created for sustainability to align the campus appearance with the mission of peace and sustainability, I thought this is a thing that I can really do. This is my legacy project. Unfortunately, after 2 years, this position was cut, and I have a lot of energy to actually make this happen on a larger scale. And so my husband and I, we have been warmly welcomed to the city itself. At times that was really hard. It was just before the fire, it got harder after the fire. But last year I had an opportunity to participate in a special gathering by the 20 international grandmothers, indigenous grandmothers in Santa Fe. I was the only non-native person in the room, and I participated because I have come to a place that was new to me, a place where there are 21 active native tribes gathering. And what I learned at this event, as the only non-native person, was that we are all native somewhere. And it had a profound impact in me because it starts with commonalities instead of being different. And it is for that reason that I actually would like to really start with a land acknowledgement, because if we acknowledge where we come from, what we have as part of our history, we can move forward together. So I would like to acknowledge that the land on which Las Vegas, New Mexico stands is the ancestral homeland and traditional territory of multiple indigenous people. This region has been home to the Pecos Pueblo, and it has been a thriving community and stood as a cultural and trade center for centuries, connecting the Rio Grande Valley and the Great Plains. We honor the Jicarilla Apache, whose seasonal migration and deep relationship with the mountains, rivers, plains shaped this landscape for generations. We recognize the Comanche and Ute people whose historical presence and movements across the region profoundly influenced its history. We acknowledge that colonization, forced displacement, and violence disrupted these communities, yet their descendants live on and continue to steward their cultures, languages, and traditions. The Pecos people live today at the Jemez Pueblo. The Jicarilla Apache Nation maintains its sovereignty from Cuba to Dulce in northern New Mexico, and the Comanche Nation, though based in Oklahoma, maintains ties to this homeland. I commit to honoring these nations' sovereignty, learning from their histories, and supporting their living cultures. We recognize that this acknowledgement is only a first step in building meaningful relationships and advancing justice for Indigenous people, past and present, and everybody needs support. So with that, I invite you all to take some material that we have out there on my campaign. We have more time to talk about specifics. And again, in times like these, when we face dire problems globally, federally, it means that we need to specifically focus on local communities to build strong, resilient communities that act together, that live together, and that unite. And again, I thank you for being here and for working towards this goal together. Thank you.
I want to thank all our candidates for their opening statements and also to the community members for the lovely questions you have asked. I have tried to put them in a meaningful order, and and we'll start with the first one. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. First question from the crowd is, how will you create transparent government and keep the community informed as to current issues affecting our community? Like, sorry, or
I can always go first.
yes.
Well, I can start with that. Or do you want to start? Did you want to start?
Oh, okay, sorry, I'm sorry.
Or you just said you can't always go first.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
Well, I take a shot at it. Well, first of it, again, I actually also wanted to say thank you to all of the candidates who have the courage to step up in difficult times, to be in public service, because it is daring and it's scary. I really applaud your courage to be here with us together. How one addresses this kind of complex issue of transparency is rebuilding public trust. And so I think one of the reasons that I want to bring out and offer is building trust in working together on a number of issues that are so dear and so deeply ingrained. Inaction is expensive. We know this from a climate issue as well. If we don't protect ourselves, we will have harder and more expensive ways to respond to it instead of being proactive in the first place. So my platform is all about being proactive, taking proactive steps, working with communities together, because it takes all of us to have this energy to come forward with initiatives. It's not just one person who makes a difference, it's all of us who work together. So if you have an idea that would be helpful for the community, you know it's you who's actually helping to implement it with the city's help to actually make it happen. But that is that groundswell of energy of a grassroots movement, and I hope to accomplish this together.
Can you repeat the question?
Of course. How will you create transparent government and keep the community informed as to current issues affecting our community?
Thank you. I believe that clear solutions. Without clear solutions and preparation, we don't have anything. That's why we're in a crisis. We're still in a danger state, a danger zone, and to recover is to invite the survivors to the table. We need to hear the voices of the local community and all the people suffering, not just the words of a specific group. This isn't a popularity contest, this is lives. These are livelihoods, livestock. This is everybody in the community, including our lands and acequias. So without bringing education and educating one another. This is what it is to prevent, diversion in a sequia. You don't do this at A, B, and C. There's education that our community is lacking, and we're in an oppressive mind state, and that involves healing. Psychological and physical, mental anguish are upon all of us. We went through a disaster. There was no physical or mental help during the disaster. We were displaced away from each other. That's not transparent. Transparency is respect in your community, having engagement all over your community and not bypassing people because you have, certain whatever you have with them. It's inclusion, it's inclusivity, it's an equity. Before we give any solutions, we need to give respect first. So that's what I want to impose on my community is education where we're all together, hearing one another. We're listening, finally listening to our ancestors, to our relatives, to our friends, our neighbors, not just mocking them. We're listening. That's how you do transparency. And I want to bring that to our community as a younger mind with the innovative drive to put respect back into our community and love, because we're not going to heal if we continue this.
All right, I think increasing transparency in government, I think we've started to do that. The way you do increase transparency is, number one, you engage the community. You engage the community from all over the city of Las Vegas, not only from special interest groups. What you do is you get individuals to sit on committees. I think a few things that we've done in the past 2 years is all our committee meetings are online on YouTube. That gives the opportunity for those that can't make public meetings an opportunity to watch them and see what's going on at their convenience. Not only giving them an opportunity to I know a lot of organizations and municipalities sometimes only have their meetings at a certain time and they're during the day when most of us are at work. So you got to make an opportunity is, number one, have meetings, whether they're committee meetings or council meetings at time people can go. If they can't go, they can watch online. And if they can't watch online, then they're able to go back and review that. I think what we've done at the city of Las Vegas is we've hired a PIO, which has been with us about 1.5 years. So we've engaged through social media. We also have a email list. So if you're not on that list, reach out to the city of Las Vegas and you can get on that list. So anything that comes out, press releases, any information, you'll be a part of that. We've also started to engage the youth in our community. We know that the youth in our community aren't only on Facebook and emails, they're on TikTok and other social media outlets. So we now have a TikTok that is going to hit the younger generation, and they know what's happening in the city of Las Vegas. So I think that's specifically how you engage the whole community, not just special interests or those that specifically want to. You get to engage the whole community from young to our seniors, and that's how you increase transparency. And I think we've done that in the past 2 years, and we'll continue to do that. There's still a lot of individuals that we also have 2 radio shows at our 2 radio stations that we twice a month are meeting there. So I think we haven't hit it completely, but we're on the right path.
Thank you, all of you. So next, I'm gonna merge 2 questions that kind of have a similar spirit. What have you done to meet with citizens to find out what their dreams are? As mayor, will you return phone calls and respond to concerns of the people?
I'd be happy to go again.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. All right. What have you done to meet with citizens to find out what their dreams are? As mayor, will you return phone calls and respond to concerns of the people?
Well, thank you. The current mayor stated that there's TikTok, and TikTok does get to a lot of youth. I've worked with a lot of youth over TikToks all over the country, but in our community, a lot of kids don't have internet. Some of them are in poor areas where they can't even get to any internet. So the public library is our closest. That have always been our closest, our safest. And, You know, it is nice to go to the library and get books and be a part of culture in our own community. So we used to go to the library. Now with ink and everything getting expensive, how do you reach out? Well, I've inspired the city. They've started TikTok because of us first TikTokers over here. I've inspired the city in many ways. I'm the DJ of Mora Fiesta's last 3 years. When I started with them, there was not inclusivity. Now there's 40,000. We even have Las Vegas coming in, you know, behind us right now, you know, as a group who's wanting to work together in different counties. You know, that's what it is to get out information. You have to be active in your community. And I've been going house to house, and that's fun, but sometimes there are dogs. You know, there's other things that get in the way of going to that house. So how do I get to that house? I can wave, you know, I can put on signs, but, you know, save the trees. I'm not about the signs. You only see a couple of signs. I'm about saving our trees for the future. So there's a lot of inconsistencies that we are, you know, being productive about, but is it performative or is it actually production in our community? Are people engaging together, or are they collaborating to engage against other people? That's what you call a slave, colonization, assimilation. You know, we have to work together to get out together, because we all know that, you know, the business down the street, we're gonna hear word of mouth from them first. Thank you.
I continue to get up because I'm an active person and I have a lot of energy. To the question how I meet voters. I walk every day 10 kilometers with my husband along the Gallinas River. I've done this as long as I've lived in Las Vegas, New Mexico, and that's how I have actually met voters for the last 4 years. Not because I'm campaigning right now, but because that's just who we are. I see health, lifestyle, communities, housing as a very holistic thing. And if we understand what we do to ourselves, being healthy, eating healthy, and being active, having healthy thoughts, because that's what the brain feeds back to us, we actually have a ripple effect to a healthy environment and planetary health. And that is all part of my campaign. Again, I invite everybody to walk with me in the morning on the Gallinas from 8 to 9 p.m., from 8 to 9 a.m., just 1 hour, not 12. And because I would like to hear from you what really is on your mind. And starting next Tuesday, we have every Tuesday in October, we host events, Coffee with Katrine. We start on Tuesday from 12 to 1 at Kickstart Cafe. And from 5 to 6, we have beer with Katrine. So you're all invited to either have coffee or beer, whatever your preference is. But I want to sit down with you because I want to hear from you what really the issues are so that we can work towards it. My platform is out there. How can we actually make all of those concerns come together and create something that is taking the youth away from TikToks and all of those things, but perhaps maybe build an insect hotel at every school so that we have Jurassic Park in our background and we learn about how we relate to nature. Thank you.
So what have you done to connect with constituents? And I say this, you know, wholeheartedly, is you be a part of the community. And what I say by that is you go to high school sporting events, you go support Highlands University, the World College, Luna Community College, you attend events where community members are. I think the other part to that is I think I've been the first mayor. I'm not a full-time mayor, but it seems like I almost spend that much time there, and you make your office open to the public when they have an opportunity to be there. You don't just sit an hour just meeting, you know, meeting at the plaza or meeting everything. You give the opportunity for the people to come to you. I'll be the first one that have I made mistakes and maybe not returned a call. Me specifically, yes, I failed at, but I do make sure that staff either follows up or makes those calls, because at the end of the day, the city manager and the directors are the ones that get things done. I mean, of course, I'm the mayor and all things go through me, but these individuals, if you give them the opportunity, what the community should be doing is going, calling the city of Las Vegas and getting those things done. And when you have a system in place, addresses, for instance, with the police department, they shouldn't be calling the mayor directly, right? There's a chain of command, and that's how you get things done. But as far as meeting with constituents, you be a part of the community. You go to the Little League games, you go to the fiestas, you be a part of the community, and that's how you dialogue and have the dialogue with the community, know what's going on, and you're not out of touch. You're in the community and know what's going on in the community, and that's how I engage.
Okay, we have really interesting questions. I am hoping to go in the route of culture and infrastructure next. So, once again, I'm going to join these two questions because they have really similar spirits. When the railroad came, Las Vegas lost farmlands, and with them, the city lost self-sufficiency. How will you make Las Vegas more self-sufficient? What is planned to assist with keeping culture and our historical infrastructure intact? What steps will you take?
May I go?
Of course.
Okay. Culture is a big part of Las Vegas, New Mexico, and the railroad was actually a part of colonization and trafficking and weaponizing our community and our people as diminishing them. So it is what it is. We're here now. So what do we do about it? Instead of having a community garden where you go to, how about you bring the community garden in your own backyard? How about there be, training on how to architect and build in your own yard? But some have disabilities. Some have, disparities that how can they even, clean their yard? So we have to, as a community, get back to our neighbors and say, what do you need? But how do we do that if none of us have resources? A lot of this monetary value is put deep into privilege and, popularity, and we need to get back to everybody. There's a town of less than 13,000 people, and, over half of us are poor and in poverty. We have to go around certain areas because we don't feel of worth. Culture is everywhere. We should be cultured everywhere. We have the right to belong in our community. That's where culture starts. You belong here. We belong here, and we're not going. So we need education to continue being here. And that means bring it to our homes. Bring it to the small businesses. The small businesses need help. They're busy working so we can have family in this community. So Pedro's Bakery and all the bakers and the restaurants, they get up at 6 a.m. so we can go and dine with our families. So let's bring it back to the small businesses that have paid for everything and the families that are still struggling here and are just trying to survive with the little that they have. So that's how we get culture back, is we are here and we're not going here. We need education.
And to assist with keeping culture and historical infrastructure. And when I read this question, this kind of brings to fruition on a culture, for instance, our fiestas and events that we have, and our culture in what our ancestors, and specifically, my family has been here since even before we became statehood. But I look at this historical infrastructure, for instance, as the acequias, our farmlands that in the community that we all share resources as far as water, making sure that our acequias, I know we had a situation last year where the acequias were being piped, but they were coming into a historical district that, basically we had to put a stop to it because there's certain mechanisms that you have to put in place to make sure that culture and that historical value of that acequia, so that from here moving forward, that not only our sons and daughters, but our grandchildren, that they understand what the importance of the acequias in our community are, the water rights in this community, a big part of this community, that we have to work together with the Story Lake Waters Association to make sure that we have water for our community, but not only that, but make sure that I mean, we have no farming in the city of Las Vegas. I mean, of course, we have community gardens and personal gardens, but we have many individuals that do farming within the surrounding areas that we got to ensure that we work together with them and make sure that the historical culture and that infrastructure and the water that we have is not only just a benefit to the city, but a benefit to the whole community. As far as the railroad, I think that's one thing that I think that we need to improve on and using that as a stepping stone and a tourism opportunity. I think that we don't push that enough. We've had the opportunity to work with BNSF Railroad that we're going to be doing some upgrades at the historical the train station, that they're going to do some improvements with the pavers and doing that. So I think making sure, I also we're very close with an MOU with Mr. Brooks Pratt and the Rough Riders. I'll stop there. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna continue with questions about it. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna sit down.
I would like to address two things separately. These questions came together, but they're two distinct, two different things in my head. First of all, from my professional experience as a soil and water expert, and living here in Las Vegas, New Mexico and surroundings with all of the land that is at our disposal, there is all opportunity to go back to an agricultural land that we were before to actually provide the food that we can. It starts from rebuilding the soil, rehydrating the soils, because that is what can grow healthy food. Because if we eat healthy, as I mentioned before, as a holistic approach, we have healthy bodies, healthy minds is an equal healthy economy. So what makes us, what makes it important to, or it makes it possible to have those things is to have innovative, new, clean, innovative industries that can work towards food production. There is no reason why there should be one person on food stamps, because we can and should produce everything here. Now, railroad is something of our history. And that is an asset that every other small communities I've been talking with is envious of. We can get into the train, go to LA and go to Chicago. It's a very special experience. I've done that, and we need to embrace it as something that brings in tourism and brings dollars here, keeps it here in our community, because this is how we grow from the grounds up. Thank you.
So next, going on with questions about economic development. A question, this is more, I think, of a comment. Las Vegas has neither human capital nor finance capital. So how will you accomplish economic development? It's a really general question. So something more specific here is, how will you actively support the local independent businesses?
I'll be happy to go first. It's only 2 minutes, but I just still wanted to go back to my own personal story. When I grew up in former East Germany, you may be familiar with a little bit of post-World War II history. There was East Germany, West Germany, and I grew up in former East Germany, and I probably have a lot more in common with local Las Vegas, New Mexicans than you would imagine, because it wasn't wealth or privilege that was there. It was a curious, innovative, and inventive mind, right? So we didn't have a lot of resources. So in order to make things work, we had to actually be inventive and use the materials and things that we had. And after the Berlin Wall came down, it wasn't again wealth or privilege that propelled me into the world. It was my own curiosity. And what I'm trying to say is that if you want to achieve something, you got to work hard. And I think one of the things that we experience in our community is the reason why we don't have, maybe never had, that kind of economy that we look for is because we are really lacking imagination. And that is one reason why it is so utterly important to reach young children from kindergarten onward, to get outside, to have experiential hands-on learning, to connect with nature, to connect with soil, to connect with insects, to connect with everything else, because that is how we learn to do things. And then we can create new businesses. And what we need is a business accelerator, working with Luna, with Highlands, with UWC, with the curious minds that is so unique to everything else that we have around us, that we need to tap into that for innovative ideas and pilot them, test them. And if it's not working, we do something else. But every startup that I know starts in somebody's garage hustling. There is no hands out, there is no nothing. It's an idea that you pursue, and that's what we need to do. Thank you.
Local economy, let's not waste funding. Why are we paying for trash to leave our community? You know, this is a small community where there's recycle can happen. It can happen. You know, I want to honor the small businesses. Everything that every money that is given to the universities, given to the schools, given to your organizations, it comes from the small businesses. The small businesses that have been here for 50, 40 years, you know, and yeah, you're right. They don't get a handout. They don't get nothing. They don't even get praise for being here. I come from a small business of 50 years. A single independent woman back in the 80s, that was not heard of. That was actually not empowered. That wasn't encouraged. That was shunned upon. That was mocked. You know, I had a parent that was working every day and late to my basketball games, which I lettered in 8th grade, continuously to senior year. I excelled in everything I did because of my parent, my small business working hard parent that survived the trenches of displacement. You know, people take ideas from the small businesses and start schools, start trades. Give it to the small businesses. That's where you get your economy. Don't put more into tourism, put more into your small businesses, because they're the locals out there busting their butt every day to feed us, to help us, to talk to us. So yes, you know, we need to encourage more small businesses. We need to encourage more diverse thinking and not group thinking. We need to encourage more development in your homes. Let's start from our homes, not start, oh, come to the plaza, come here. Let's start in our homes. That's where we start. Let's stop this oppression and assimilation and work together. Enough is enough. You know, economy and wealth is deserved right now for the small businesses. So I want to honor them. To all you all small businesses, we hear you, we see you. And you know what? You're running this community. Thank you.
We're still more than 2 minutes on this, but you know, as far as you know, actively supporting local independent businesses, and I don't know if this is specific to downtown or small business in general. Again, you know, my family having a small business for almost 50 years, and the rest of my family, Romero Feed and Supply, over 75 years. You know, there's you know, firsthand, I know how it is when things are slow. So the way you support, and I'm going to talk more into the downtown because I know that's an area that sometimes struggles, you know, with events. But how you do that is you encourage grants. The city in the past during COVID, for instance, you know, we applied for a grant. We were able to help those businesses with grants. I think it was anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 that we helped those businesses. So, you know, that's how you do it. You know, new business starting up, you got to work with Small Business Association, make sure that they have the knowledge and the understanding of what it's going to take. Having a small business today isn't as easy as it was 20 years ago. It's a lot harder. So what you do is you got to find those grants and the opportunities, because I know there's a misconception that local government can help small business financially, and we can't because of the anti-donation. So how you do that is you improve the infrastructure with roads. We're doing that on Railroad and Bridge Street with a great blocks program, thanks to Main Street. So that's how you improve the Douglas area. We have another grant that should be starting up here at almost $2 million. You improve the infrastructure, the roads, the facade of the community. We did that in Bridge Street. There's another grant that we applied for Bridge Street, $2 million. And how does all that transpire? Is that beautifies the area where people want to come and visit and shop at your local businesses. So that's, you want to talk about, small business, that's how you do it. As far as a government agency and helping the small businesses. So thank you.
Going in the same direction, the question is, what are your solutions for affordable housing?
Affordable housing. This term has been used since I was a kid. There's been money given to affordable housing. There's been houses given to affording housing. How to enforce affordable housing. I do think that there should be a policy about no taxes for people, of a certain age and over. I believe that if you ran a business for over 50 years, why should you pay taxes? And I know that's, oh my goodness, taxes that these small business pay, that money goes into the public, entities. It drives everybody. So, our solutions is stop mismanaging the money. Stop putting it where it doesn't belong. If people don't have housing right now, I know somebody with a child that is facing, displacement. They have, I don't know how many days, but how can we help them if we can't help ourselves? I live with my parents and I'm proud of that because, it's generation helping generations. We come back to our community as helping our parents, as helping our loved ones. And you know what, that's what we're gonna do. That's what forever, that's culture. So if you're gonna, have affordable housing, 13,000 people, everybody should have a house. There's open buildings, there's places that can come into a dormitory, for the CYFD kids. Nobody should be living like the way they are here. And I've seen this since, I'm happy, I congratulate all the people before me, but it needs to be done. It needs to be done with good intentions. It needs to get done. We can't wait 4 years. We can't wait 2 years. We can't wait 1 year. This should have been done yesterday. And I think that it's up to us to stop supporting, to stop supporting the injustices and the privilege and start supporting the labor power and, people over profit. That's how we come together in affordable housing. Thank you.
So solutions to affordable housing. So right now, actively what I'm doing in that perspective is right now Highlands University is working on a development plan at the golf course. On top of that, what the city has also done in the past year, I sit on a board that's called the North Central Economic Development Committee, where I was able to secure $40,000 to put together some renderings and some housing plans. So we have two, and I call them pilot programs. And again, this can't be done just with me. It's the governing body that has supported this, and that's what we're actively doing. So we have 13, right now the plan is for 11 to 13 townhomes and the El Alto Supper Clubs. For those of you that know it, it's where the old Alto Supper, the restaurant. And also for 6 to 7 townhomes on 2nd Street. So the knowledge behind that was, I know a lot of individuals think that the property there on Mills belongs to the city, which it doesn't. It belongs to the Northern Housing Authority. So the background, what we're trying to do is do some pilot programs to show. I mean, we all know that there's a need, right? I've sat on boards with Highlands University, the community college, the hospital, the state hospital, and we know there's a need for housing. So how do we do that on a small scale? If we could do that at a small scale in these properties, yes, it's only 20 homes, but it's a start to show that the city of Las Vegas has a lot of vacant properties. So if we're able to develop those and then start building on the smaller properties, whether it's 2 townhomes, but that's a start on how we're going to address the housing problem in our city. And again, also supporting Highlands, and I know Luna Community College is looking at development themselves, but we got to support each other. And that's what I think I bring to the table, is I have a network and I'm a great listener and a problem solver. And you got to get everybody working and working together on the same solutions. And that's how we take care of our housing problem. Thank you.
Affordable housing, it is not a singular issue. Affordable housing is such an exciting opportunity because it actually connects our economic infrastructure and our opportunity to create new clean businesses and attract them here into town, and also our healing community, right? So what we have already here in Las Vegas, New Mexico. Stop the clock for a second. I'm just going to wait until everybody sees it. Thank you. What we already have here in Las Vegas, New Mexico is a manufacturing facility that makes building blocks, kind of like Lego stones, that are super insulated. And it's a part of passive housing. And it's not solar passive, it's like passive housing that you create buildings with the pre-manufactured modules that are super insulated based on agricultural waste products. And if we use cellulose like agricultural waste products, and even some of our burned wood can go into that kind of manufacturing. Without chemicals, without toxins, we can build new homes that only need the equivalent of a hairdryer to cool or to heat. So that means our utility costs go down dramatically, and we can actually focus on something else but worrying about our utility bills. And so if we do that, those houses become affordable because they're cheaper to maintain and to live in. And they also give us healthy communities because we don't suffer from off-gassing any toxins that give us cancer. And that is the holistic approach to my campaign, that we can do things locally here, clean, that protects us and our environment. And that is how we grow from the very beginning, from the very bottom.
Excuse me. I would like to thank the Will College students for coming and helping us today.
Reading buddies.
Thank you. All right. It's really interesting to read all these questions and try to create a flow so that our candidates can give us good information. And next question I'm going to ask, and I'm sure all of you are going to love hearing the answers because it's a question that we all care about: animal welfare. How will you move forward with the animal welfare crisis that we are in now? How will you monitor the cause of abuse going through the courts?
So the animal crisis that we're enduring, the first step that the city of Las Vegas has taken is we've beefed up our ordinances specifically to address those where abuse is taking place. The unfortunate part in the system, the legal system, is number one, you have to catch them, and I think that's probably the most difficult part. So documenting, I know we have a lot of animal advocates within this community that they're doing an awesome job in what they do, but the part is to actually prosecute some of these cases. There has to be documentation and a process that must be followed so it could properly, properly get charged, and that's, I think, we're having issues. The other part to that has been a lack of basically having animal control. We've had one animal control officer in the past 2 years, and the amount of work that guy has done is awesome. And without him and his commitment, because we've hired many individuals and it's a hard, difficult job. You know, those that are actively, advocating for animals in our community, it's difficult, but the amount of calls that come in is hard for one person to do. So number one is beefing up. I mean, we've increased the salaries of the animal control officers. Once we I know now we do have another individual, but unfortunately he's going into the military, so I don't know how much longer he's going to be with us. So I think that's been the most difficult part. The caveat to, I think, how we could increase it more is that we have to actively work with the animal advocates on how we could document some of these abuse cases so that they may be charged. I mean, that's just one topic. I know we're abuse, but there's just much more. And I hope we talk about, other things within animal.
I'm on the UNM Health Advisory Board, and this is my 3rd year, and animal advocacy is absolutely imperative, and it's lacking here. Animals have rights too. They're supporting people that have mental illness right now. They're supporting us. And why is it that our animals are not being given any respect? Well, it's because, the lack of respect, if it's given to the most vulnerable, it's not going to be given to the animals. Our jails, people that need, hope, why can't they work with our animals? And why can't there be an amount given to people with animals, insurance? People have to get out loans to take care of their animal. When their animal is suffering or have an issue, they have to go and take out a loan. That's 3 times of what they're paying. So they're paying for their family member, for their friend, for their loved one to be maintained. And that's something of 13,000 in a community, and all the money that I see, I don't know where it's going, but it's supposed to be going to the animal shelter, dog food, all this, we have like 5 cats, we're developing our own animal shelters in our own homes, so we need support. We need support in our own homes, not to be given to, no disrespect, organizations, thank you. But when I was in 2012, I would try and get animals into the back of my car to take safely to the animal shelter, so they didn't have to pay somebody. We're doing that. So we're giving all we can, but the animals in us are still, there's still no connection. So I think, the jails, I think the most vulnerable, and I think our animals, we need all rights. We need food. They need food. It's not, Walmart is on a land grant. They don't, from what I understand, they don't pay taxes, but thank you. Thank you.
I think this is something, unless there are more questions to it.
That's actually.
I think that's fair.
On this topic especially? Okay, no, thanks.
Here's a quick fact. People who don't have their own most basic needs met will not be able to meet the basic needs of their families, their dependents, or their animals. So the most profound thing is that we need to take care of ourselves first, and this is where the affordable housing comes in, that really brings in new industry and new jobs and higher salaries, and then also actually the innovative approach to create new businesses. If there is any young person out there who loves animals, there is a job opportunity to either run a business as a kennel. There's a business of having a dog run or animal run. There are business opportunities of all sorts that just need to get off the ground with the support of a city that has that on its agenda. And that is why, again, all of those things are intrinsically connected. Our healthy community, a healing community, is all about having a strong economy and also healthy people. So if we meet our needs first, then we can also have healthy animals. The animal shelter is important because it is providing a lot of services, especially the spay and neuter. So shout out to everybody who's volunteering on doing those services. And that is a way to really control an animal population that is going out of control because of the reluctance or insufficient services by the city. So these are things that we can do very easily. And again, dog training, having any of those kinds of business opportunities doesn't need to cost the city any money. It can be something that injects new economic power.
I want to give another 2 minutes to candidates to add on to this question because there's a lot of interest, and I just want to interject. Volunteering for a spay neuter clinic is one of the most fun things you can do, especially post-op. Your job is to aggressively pet animals so they wake up. So I have done this volunteering work. It's really fun, and I want to encourage everyone to sign up.
Okay, so thank you again. Again, this topic's very important to this community. I think what we've done at the city, again, and I give kudos to my colleagues for the support on this, is that we've increased our budget from 150,000 to 500,000 for the animals shelter. Number two is you seek out grants and opportunities. So when I became mayor, the first legislative session in January, again, with support from my colleagues, is we specifically put in the funding for an animal shelter. We received $750,000. That, as a matter of fact, this week, they just met with staff to have the first meeting with staff on what they vision this shelter to be. The next step is community members will have an opportunity to have a public meeting with the designers of the shelter on what your vision should be of the shelter. So that's number two. The other part is you seek other grants and resources. So in that same legislative session, we received $200,000 thanks to Senator Pete Campos in a junior bill, which that funded spay and neuter clinics, and it also funded education to our elementaries, because that's where change in this community is going to start, is at the education level of the youth. You teach them how an animal should be treated, that they shouldn't be chained up. You teach them, you bring them in when it's cold. So all those different opportunities and avenues and change, starting in education, that's how we're going to change the animal crisis in our community. The spay and neuter clinics, I know that not only what the city's doing, but also AWC and what they're doing, but we seem to not be able to catch up. So spay and neuter alone is not going to do it alone. We need to educate and and number two, the other part to this is also make sure that we get the enforcement. Again, we need to make sure we have the animal control officers to do that, but then also support from the judicial level, that we make sure that those that are harming and abusing these animals are held accountable. So thank you.
So I spoke about Walmart. There's a lot of organizations that during the fires, I reached out to locally. Locally didn't help. You know who helped? People in other areas helped us with helping our animals be, located or they were lost. It was a disaster, and we're still not off of that. We're not away from the fires. This is here and now, reality check. We're in a disaster zone. So there are going to be displacement of animals. The community, outreach from Luna and Highlands. And, there was one time where they would make houses for people with disabilities. So they're for the dogs or for the cat, it was community. We cannot wait anymore for plans or visions. The vision is now. We need to take care of animals in homes, but if we can't take care of ourselves, how can we take care of our animals? we're in a very, very dire disaster of, our animals suffering and we're suffering. There are sometimes I will not eat because I will put food on for my animals, because it's love. They're not just our animals, they're our kids, they're our family members. So again, it involves in the household, recovery in individual households, coming to you, not you coming to us. We coming to you. There is less than 13,000 people here. And in bigger areas in Albuquerque, I know we need more people, we need more enforcement, but we need more engagement to come collectively together. There has to be respect amongst another, else then nothing's gonna happen. Nothing's gonna be executed the way you want it to be. You have to give respect to where it's deserved, and it's deserved everywhere right now in this community. We're all suffering. Some of these houses, have cancer. They're not livable, and we need to exist. Anyways, thank you.
We can turn a number of things on its head. Instead of having lawsuits because dogs attacked individuals in our community, we can proactively invest that into making sure that all animals, especially dogs, are vaccinated for all the things that need to be vaccinated, especially for rabies, thank you. And then really work towards other opportunities, like Jillian suggested, maybe even using animals as therapy animals. We heard that this is very therapeutic to work with animals, right? Just like garden is very therapeutic, being with animals is very therapeutic. There's a reason why one of our former presidents said, if you need a real friend, have a dog. And so there is that kind of connection that we can accomplish, being proactive about many things that the community faces instead of paying out, doing lawsuits, or much worse, being attacked or having been hurt. So, the approach to making animals part of our community, as they already are vast, and we just need to tap into our creativity for that. Thank you.
Thank you all. Next question I have will not be a 2-minute question. It's a very short question. It's like a number question. How many council meetings have you attended? If you know.
I watch every council meeting since 2019.
I couldn't even count him, so many, but I've been involved, like I said, through public service. My father was a council member. I watched it even prior to that, so I couldn't even count how many I've been to, honestly, but it's a lot.
I have chaired and led an organization called Sustainable Qatar when I was living in overseas in the Middle East, and we would have meetings every month. And one of our main accomplishments and milestones was to really bring a local Arab community together with an expat communities and having this exchange of ideas. I live in the community since January 2022. I've been to a number of city council meetings, especially with some of the UWC students, which was my previous employer, where students from our community actually suggested and presented about wastewater treatment plants that have no further been pursued. So for me, this is not a numbers game. It's really about being present in the community as well, having the courage to take leadership on the issues that are most important to us.
Thanks all of you for that. I will continue asking questions about leadership styles. There's a bunch of them that we had, so. All right. What specifically will you address and improve within city government? What will you do? Where will you start? Can you assure continuity in the city government? Are you going to try to fix things that are not broken?
I have a personal connection with my community, so, you know, there's just so much from, we were getting a pond, you know, ice skating pond, $80,000 spent, you know, now it's a basketball court, you know, transparency. You know, I think we need to better, I think we need a data system that monthly shows what FEMA is spending, what FEMA has spent, what our city is spending. You know, there has to be some accountability and transparency, even in the systems. The systems are outdated, even in the police systems, outdated, you know, government outdated. There are some personnel issues I would absolutely like to address, you know, and how things are being ran. You know, is it dictatorship? Is it populism? Is it cronyism? Is it favoritism? Or is it actually people with qualifications doing what they need to do? And that's where I like to tackle, you know, regardless of, you know, the city has always given that we're trying here. We're gonna do our best. This is what we have. Well, what do we have now? What have we had from 40, 20 years ago? And has it gotten good? And when it's not good, you know, the city, I feel sometimes there's blame to past organizations, and for us youth leaders and younger innovators, we need everything now. Now's the time. Economy, climate change, you know, there's youth speaking up more courageously than anybody I've ever seen. They're doing so without the support of their community. They're doing so. They have the willpower, you know, and that's what we need to improve, is having the goal and intent. Are you working for the city because you like that salary money, or are you working for the people? All the people, not just here and there, privileged and families, everyone. Thank you.
I think that the leadership that, you know, of course, in government, everything needs to, I mean, nothing's perfect. So there's always improvement in every aspect of government. As far as leadership, you know, you lead by example, you lead with integrity, you lead with honesty, and that's what I mean. I think on top of that, and leading by example, is you also got to know what's going on, not only locally, but state and federally. And what you do by that is that you would enable your employees to have opportunity for growth, an opportunity to learn, an opportunity for training. I do want to, you know, say this because this is going to be a huge thing coming up. For the first time in over 10 years, we're going to have an official zoning official through this, you know, licensed zoning official at the city of Las Vegas, which we haven't had in 10 years. And how does that happen? Is that given the opportunity for training and learning. I think one thing that, you know, in my 2 years is everybody should be given that opportunity for growth. We've had individuals that have been in the trenches for so long that have so much knowledge in how to better departments, but were never afforded that because of who they were or what might be. So you give them an opportunity for growth. And again, the leadership style is you lead by example. Every day is a day to learn. And I keep up with that. And like I said, I'm part of the Hunts Institute for Leadership. I just recently got elected to the board of directors for New Mexico Municipal League. And I didn't get that just, you know, because of who I am, because of where I come from. I got elected because I show leadership, not only here locally, but at the state level, because I got elected by local municipal villages and towns. Leaders from them felt that I had an opportunity to lead at the state level with municipal leagues. So that's the type of leadership that I bring.
I used to teach sustainability and innovation entrepreneurship. So in this ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship, the saying is like, if it ain't broke, break it. So will we break things? I don't know. The problem is, or not the problem, the opportunity is really to create opportunities, as the mayor mentioned already, not just for professional growth, but for personal growth. And the personal growth is really about showing up for your community. Now, you might be familiar with the Adopt a Highway program from the National Park Service. And we can adopt this right here in Las Vegas, New Mexico. Every street, every block, every Gallinas River walkway, everything can be adopted by a small community to actually have an outlet for contribution to be part of our government. Because when I came to the US as a former East German person growing up in a pretty totalitarian country, my political awakening was here in the United States, we the people. Now I'm part of We the People, and I really appreciate the opportunity for volunteerism, teaching young children in particular, again, kindergarten onward, to be part of your community, to show up for your community, to do something that makes this community better. That is a leadership style where we have fun, where we see results very quickly, and where we can be proud of keeping our community together as older people, younger people, because there's this cross-generational learning opportunity that is so special for Las Vegas, New Mexico, and I'm really proud of being part of it. Thank you.
Lovely. Leaders are called on to do hard things. As a leader, how will you address accusations of discrimination or prejudice or even racism if directed at you or other members of our community?
Well, this is right up my alley because you know there's been discrimination since we were little. I told you there's political and everything, sports. You know, what's your last name? You know, that's discrimination. You know what I mean? And that's a big question here. What is your last name? Who are you? You know, discrimination comes in all forms. It comes systematically, which this is systematically oppression and discrimination. And if you're an independent woman who even made a mistake or vulnerable person made a mistake, are you given a second chance? Or are you overlooked and put right into the jail system, institutionalized? You know, are you given everything that a community should give you? You know, the discrimination and differential treatments. Is your water clean in this area? Is it clean in that area? Why is it always clean in this area? How come we don't have clean water? You know, our businesses, small businesses, one of them said that they have brown water, dirty water. How are you supposed to cook and clean and do things with that kind of water? Discrimination is in all forms. If you're going to discriminate all of us together, because that's what it is, you know what I mean? Just segregating, dividing us into that, let's discriminate them in this way. It's bullying, it's intimidation, it's harassment. You know, it's going by somebody's house every day and getting a reaction. You know, that's discrimination. And we as a community need to do better, learn better. You want to be a better example? Listen to people. When they say no, no means no. You know, so respect that, respect one another, you know, go about it. Don't blame the past. Don't blame anything. We are individuals here. We have our own minds, you know, be in it together and just love one another. And I know that's hard to do, but if you have nothing, you know, thank you for my time.
As a leader, how do you address accusation of discrimination and prejudice? And I think no matter who you are in this community, one way or another, you know, you're always accused of that. I know I've been accused of it. And unfortunately, the way you address that is you sit down with individuals and truly show them what type of person you are. I know that since I've become mayor, I know, you know, the differences between a counselor and a mayor. You have to show a leadership and understanding with everybody. And when you're a counselor, you're there as, you know, accountability and making sure that whatever's happening, that it's not going to affect audits or future funding for you. So you ask questions, and I know in the past it's been taken that, oh, you're just picking on individuals or groups because of who they are or what they might look like, and they've never been the case. You know, when a city has to follow audits, and the importance of audits are, you know, for future funding, for grants, for bond ratings. You gotta make sure that what you're doing and how you're giving money away in communities or to organizations, that you're in line with not only state law, but federal law. So what you gotta, so there's that mix of balance that sometimes, you're taking, that you're just picking on individuals or organizations. That's never been the case, but I think since I've become mayor, I've had an opportunity to sit with individuals and just let them know, this is about accountability. This has nothing to do with who you are or where you come from. It's just, government, it's not as easy as it has been a nonprofit. There's accountability measures that not only that we got to attend to, but the state's on us, and there's federal requirements that we got to be in line with. So addressing that is on a personal basis, sitting down with individuals and then them understanding where you really stand, and that it's not personal, you're just doing your job in managing fiscal responsibility for the city. And that's how I would address it.
I would like to go back to my opening statement. We are all native somewhere, and it is this profound search for similarities rather than of differences that would keep us apart, that has the opportunity to grow our city together. And I would also like to share another personal story. Again, I was born and raised in former East Germany. After the Berlin Wall came down, I met my husband from the other side of Germany, from West Germany. We used to point nuclear weapons at each other, right? And after 36 years of marriage, we still do. And so the point of division really happens in our head, right? The more we talk about it, the more we point it out, the more we act on it, the more it exists. The less we talk about it, the less we point differences out, the less we are actually divided. And that is one reason why I think the East-West story of Las Vegas is my husband and my personal story. And if we can grow together after this nuclear history, I think Las Vegas can grow together as well. It takes will, it takes courage, and it takes initiative to be together, to be out, adopt a city block and keep that clean. And maybe even grow a food forest in that public space. If you had a chance to be on my website and look under the resources headline, there are a number of links to short videos that are really inspiring. Again, it's a lot of it is about food forests and gardening and soil health and water, which are the things that so basically are what we are in this community. And that's where I would like to be part of.
All right. I'm gonna take a deep breath now before I read this one. Sorry. How will you work with the City Council and San Miguel County to use policies, guidelines, and practices available at the local level to protect all members of our community from federal agents? I'm
happy to start. One reason why I decided kind of last minute to run, put my head into the basket for running for mayor of Las Vegas, New Mexico is it's an act of defiance. We live right now in such dire times, globally, federally, and that is again a reason why focusing on a united, healthy and safe community is so important. The first day when we invited voters to walk with us on the Gallinas River, we met a wonderful lady from the community who has made it her vision and her mission right now to learn how to make Las Vegas, New Mexico a sanctuary city. And we are all part of this community, and we are all vulnerable together. And if we stand together, we have a chance. Now, going back to my very personal history and story, fear and intimidation is how those totalitarian systems work. And if we stand together and if we are fearless, grounded in our roots, and then yet be stubbornly optimistic, that is how we stand a chance against what's happening. And I wish that our community is strong enough, if for only this one reason, to come together, then we have a chance to really grow our everything, community, economy, healthy communities, healing communities, and that's how we're going to do that, standing together.
So I was an expat. I worked for the USDA. No, I was not a part of anything that happened. I was a whistleblower before that, and they had planned it. They've been planning it. The federal government plans, you know, they do. So if we're in a crisis, you know, again, if you're in a crisis, it's because we have not planned as a community together. As a federal agent, there was little plants that botanists would, you know, make sure nobody would destroy. Well, that little plant is our community. How come there's no botanist here to navigate on protecting us in our own community? This is sacred land. This is on indigenous land. This should already be protected. There should have never been government entities saying, we're gonna do this to help you without coming to the local owners, you know, that have livestock, the farmers, you know, and there was a group that came and said, look, don't do this, don't, you know, and why wasn't that taken seriously? Why? You know, there's a big lake near there. Why didn't we have the resources to do what we needed to do as a community? You know, and now, you know, Rio Doso, Mora, California, they're doing more than what we ever did. In fact, I'm helping Rio Doso. I'm on one of their teams. They're keeping money in the community. They're not giving it to universities until their community is fixed. They're not giving it outsourced. They're not giving it to, you know, fiestas. And, you know, we enjoy our fiestas, but why can't we have our own fiestas in our homes like we used to? And then we come together. That was the way it was. Now we have to wait for somebody to tell us where to go, how to be, how to act. And that is not, you know, freedom. We deserve freedom, and we deserve an economy that we're working together, but the respect has to be educated into it. Thank you.
What's happening federally in this specific question here, I think it's something that, and me, I say this when I go all over and I meet with leaders from all over. Here in New Mexico, we have a unique situation to where our Constitution specifically says that we're allowed to speak Spanish. And I think, you know, a lot of us look like, you know, our neighbors that, you know, might be coming here that might not have the legal documentation. So this question, you know, I look at it as a perspective. If they want to take us, they take us all, because that's who we are and this is where we're from. But the change to that is we need to determine, and our community is in a very critical situation where we're depending on FEMA so much. I mean, we have so many claims within the pipeline. We have so many, you know, opportunity that if we start that fight with the federal government, it's going to be difficult. So what I say to this question is we need to all take care of each other, make sure that we're protecting each other. And if you know, that situation does arise, then we all fight together and we keep our community together, and let's make sure that we protect each other. You know, but that's what I say, because hey, if they want to take, you know, anybody that's undocumented, I mean, my family goes generations and generations prior to being, you know, United States of America, from here in this community. So all I say is be careful what you wish for, because our community will rise up.
Wow. It's been almost 90 minutes and I am very, very amazed by your motivation and concentration. I can't get my students to listen to me for more than 10 minutes. So I'm envious. Come to my classes. Okay. There are questions about the school system here that I kind of want to consolidate into one, because first question is, what advantages, disadvantages do you see in maintaining 2 school districts versus consolidating them? Another question is, what can the mayor do to affect the schools? And there's one other question that's kind of related, if you might wanna, if you feel like responding to it. Would our city benefit from a free outdoor public skate park? It's about education. So I think it would be better if we give y'all 4 minutes because this is a bigger topic. Is that okay? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I
guess I'll go first, being that I was a graduate of Robertson High School and school board member for 8 years at West Las Vegas. So I could honestly say that I've had an interest in both school districts. As board chair of West Las Vegas, this item had come up back then. And it's a touchy situation, specifically to that how it will affect this community funding wise. And I know that we did at one point come to a point where we were going to seek funding from the state legislatures. Unfortunately, there were some board members from Las Vegas City Schools that jumped the gun and broke that whole discussion on a study on what would the benefits and the disadvantages of that specific question. We didn't get to that point, but you do see, how it affects, both districts, and it goes sometimes to sports. But at the end of the day, we got to make sure that the education is the one that is addressed specifically. We got to forget about the sports and the rivalry. It's the education's community that matters most. Unfortunately, that's such a touchy subject that not even the legislature would be willing to tackle. It takes leadership of the school boards to sit down and have that discussion on what the benefits would be to the community. Me personally, I think that there are some benefits, and it's not athletically, but there are some benefits to it. That's just discussion that school boards have to make that decision. What was the other portion to that question? As far as the school boards, as far as education, I do sit on the Mayor's Alliance to End Hunger. In that capacity, I've had an opportunity where we brought in West Las Vegas schools to feed our children at the rec. We've partnered with West Las Vegas to have lunches at the schools at the Plaza Park. So that's one aspect in the city and the schools working together. As a matter of fact, now the city of Las Vegas is working with West Las Vegas schools to they have an automotive shop. And of course, at the city of Las Vegas, we have a major need for maintenance in our vehicles. So what we're doing is we're partnering with West Las Vegas when their students to do minor basic maintenance to our vehicles. So that's another way how you partner. So you partner with your schools, and there's other opportunities. I know we're sitting with Las Vegas City Schools on internships, in the office, computers, website design. They're taking these classes, and at the end of the day, what you got to do is give them experience. So specifically to that, I think you partner and work with the schools, not only the local school districts, but also the universities. I know we've had this discussion with Dr. Carol Linder, with Dr. Neil Wolf on opportunities. And I think that at the city of Las Vegas, we haven't taken advantage of the resources that we have in this community, but making that start, and we've started that, specifically with MOUs with West Las Vegas. So it's happening. it just, it could move from there, but it's having to discuss, I mean, as far as the education aspect, the city can't, go in and specifically work on the educational aspect, but there is ways to partner with the schools, and we're doing that. Thank you.
I went to both West Las Vegas and East high schools. I went to the elementaries, I went to the kindergartens and our local daycares. So again, it's systematic. The schools from my day and age, we had to pay for, the parents had to pay for extras. The teachers have to, right now, from what I understand, pay for their own Kleenexes, pay for this, pay for that. Parents have told me they have gotten loans. The schools are given money every year, and I think that there needs to be a class on management, on managing the budget, and helping the kids. A lot of kids in our community, they come from a small business, their parents or their loved ones, they're there helping them. On their free time, they're helping them. So why can't there be a class on helping your own people, with budgeting, with accounting? Instead, we want to put these trades out there without talking to the community. And when you put these trades out there, they take away from the beginners that started these, the hair schools, the nail schools, all these schools, come from somebody that did all the work. So how are you empowering them to stay in business? So you're taking away. And when I was in school, there was a lot of parents that, that were there all the time with their child at the game. They were the ones that, came to the spaghetti dinners. My parent had to work. How are you reaching out to other kids that don't have both parents or don't have any parents, which apparently 60% of our local kids don't. They don't have either one. They're either on the couch or somebody's friend's, house. But that is from the school. When the school gives you more organizations, I helped start 2 GSAs, one at West, one at Robertson. They fizzled because they weren't allowing us, the community, to engage. They don't want the education in the community to empower the kids because it's systematic. When you come out from schools, you're either public schools, you're either in jail institutions, you're in hospital institutions, you're in other institutions, that do not specialize on your curriculum or who you are, or where you want to be, or your dreams. English, math, a lot of us say, well, we didn't need it. Well, some of it changes over the years. The kids, their math has gotten way different from us, and I can't help them, you know what I mean? So these resources between us, they're changing, they're evolving. Why aren't we given the tools to evolve with it? This happens in school systems. Somebody told me 2 kids that are not of publics, they're still kids that are not public schools, but they're still getting education somewhere. They don't have computers. They don't have a means to get home. They don't have a means to get to school from here. They're not eating. We have to take care of the physical and mental capacity of all our families and kids. And then you can start whatever you want to start. But I've seen this as a kid. It's cliques, it's certain people, and the rest of us, we're neglected. We're left out. And how are we supposed to get through that when there's 80% of us neglected? There's only 20% of privilege being, this is where you go, this is what you need. I never saw any of my teachers or scholarship people, not once. And shout out to Mary Busto, she was my math teacher, and to all you teachers out there that are struggling, hang in there because you deserve more. We all deserve more. Thank you.
All right, this was my 8-minute opportunity to use the bathroom. I hope I didn't miss too much. So the question on 2 school systems is not my decision, it's the community's decision. Do you think that having 2 school systems serves the students best?
No.
Yes?
Yes.
No.
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 Yes.
So if we are talking about strengthening the economy with young entrepreneurs, we need to start in school systems that offer after-school activities, sports, sciences, arts, theater, any of those outlets where students can do what they like to do, where they use their bodies, their minds, their imagination, and then grow into a mindset where they understand that they are in the driver's seat. That dependence on handouts, on government money may or may not sustain. So if we are talking about self-sustaining our community with businesses, with housing, with high-skilled and high-paying jobs, we need to create those within our community, and that starts with after-school activities. We have such a beautiful triangle kind of education system here. We have an international high school with about 200 students coming from 80 different countries. We have Highlands University with a number of international students coming from abroad. We have Luna Community College where everybody, anybody can learn a trade. I'm a bricklayer by training. I have shoulders. And so working together and really bringing all of those chaotic, energetic things together will help us create new ideas that very well may turn into businesses for people to want to stay here instead of getting their education here and taking it away. That is called brain drain. And we need to keep those brains here. Now, what kind of businesses can we create with all of those young minds? I briefly talked about it before, but on Abib Industrial Boulevard, we have one company, B Public Prefab. I mentioned it early on. They provide and build those prefabricated building blocks that are super and highly insulated. Their minimum wage job, not minimum wage job, their entry-level jobs without experience, without anything else, just showing up on time is $24 an hour. They can find people from the community. What we do have instead is a Dollar General store that is just going up as we speak at the entrance of an historic town. Is this bringing in high-skilled, high-paid jobs?
No.
Does the community benefit from that?
No.
So a combined school system perhaps might be something that serves our students early on, learns about the opportunities, and implements them in the community. The reason why I have on my website the 17 Sustainable Development Goals is because it is something that the UN has put together, and I ask respectfully for maybe just finishing my sentence. Thank you. Is everybody in this community has something to give that is associated with those 17 development goals. And if you're not familiar with it, it's an agreement of 200 countries globally that committed to it. So we have opportunities, we have creativity, and we have what it takes in this community to make this work. And that's where we can start. And that is why we need to invest into our young people with a possibly combined school system based on your decision. Thank you.
All right, we have like 10 minutes left, so I think a good way for us to move forward is I have saved one question for a last question. I think it's a good question as a last question. There's 6 questions in front of me that I haven't been able to include. So what I'm hoping to do is have you answer this last question and then read out loud the questions that haven't been answered. And we won't have time to get them the answers, but if you are the person who's asking the question, and if you want to talk to the candidates after the forum about their answers, so you can listen to them. Does that sound like a good deal? Perfect.
I just want to say there were several cards here that are similar to the questions that have been asked.
Okay,
So you don't have them all.
okay, good. All right. To all candidates, how do you see Las Vegas in 5 years?
Ooh,
Who asked this question? It's a good question.
that's a good.
2 minutes good?
I think so. Whoever wants to go first, it's up to you.
Okay. As a candidate for mayor in 5 years, I see a lot. I see us out of a food desert. I see the possibility of us in a better financial reality, better replacement of revenue. I see, our animals not walking the streets, not getting hit by cars. I see our children not dying on the roads. I see our children and our adult elders and leaders connecting so they can give them their resilience on how they have survived here before this was a state. This is my community. As you know, I've been here before this was a state, 1912, and I'm about not bullying. So if you have something to say or anything, now is the time. We need to be open, we need to be free and away from the fascist governing of the whole world. This is about living equally and respectfully. And I put public safety first. Without public safety, we're not safe in our community. Therefore, why go out? We need safety in our community. And as a leader, we need to listen to people, regardless of whatever's happened. We need a new start, a balance, because right now it's dysfunctional. It's so bad that, people don't want to go out no more. And there's elderly dying. There's 10 people dying in our optics every day, and that's the attention they're getting. But we need better attention, constructive attention. As mayor, I'm the one bringing the rainbow to this city. That's me. I bring the rainbow to this city, and that's light, that's hope, that's respect, that's accountability. And yes, we're gonna make mistakes as we learn, but hey, we make mistakes and we've broken the mistakes and we learn from the best of them in here, out there. Thank you for your time, and I just want to say to everybody, you matter. Don't give up on yourself, to each an individual, you matter, and love yourself like there's no other time, because this is life and death for all of us. Thank you.
You have a lot of passion and appreciate that. I just want to say, experience in government matters, and that's, one of my slogans as we move forward. In 5 years, what I see if we continue on the same track, not only with myself, but the governing body that we have, is that if you've noticed 11% decrease in crime, and that's because of leadership in the police chief and what he's done. We only have 2 patrol officers when before there was a vacancy of 11 patrol officers. So we've increased that. We've increased our fire department where there's only 4 vacancies in that. So we continue in 5 years, what I see is a community that less crime. We're addressing our water situation. I wish we would have had more time to address that the water situation that we're enduring. And what happened in that is a lack of leadership and a lack of inaction in our water treatment plant to combine with the effects of the Hermit's Peak F Canyon fire. I envision more partnerships with Luna Community College, Highlands University, and apprenticeships programs that we're working, and we're making sure, as Ms. Katrine said, is that we can't afford for our community to have individuals that are getting their education here and then leaving our community. What we've done is we've increased rates, we've increased the salaries of individuals at the city of Las Vegas, giving them opportunity for growth. And there's a lot of positive things happening. I see in the past 2 years, almost $6-7 million in road projects. We just received $1.7 million for the Riverwalk from Douglas to Mills Avenue. to support the arts. We came into an agreement with, and this, I won't take fully credit for it, but I didn't implement it. Mayor Louis Trujillo worked with Highlands University. When I became mayor, we adopted that MOU. We have an art MOU to start putting more art in public places. Any grants that we apply for, we're making sure that there's art installments. There's in 5 years, I see a lot of opportunity within this community, but we need to keep the course. And the reason why I say that is you need somebody that has contacts within the state and federal government, somebody that's working hard and knows the key players to make sure that funding continues to come into this community. And again, I humbly, I'll stop.
I'm the eternal optimist, so I'm actually shortening it to a year. Where I envision Las Vegas to be in 1 year from now is to be out, to be healthy, to be active together. Again, I walk every day 10 kilometers. I invite everybody to walk with us, my husband and I, in the morning. Because if we walk, if we are active, we don't need therapy because that is therapy, right? So we're strengthening our bodies and our minds. During the interview on KFUN, thank you, Joseph, for having me on, I shared a lot of ideas, practical ideas of things that can be implemented as new business ideas. I shared a lot this morning with everybody. And somebody better took notes, because if we don't have any of those and all of those businesses up and running in 1 year from now, I should be darned. But these are the things that I would like to see. More children, more classrooms going outside, learning outside in the environment, and really using our big city as a classroom, because we have so much history and we have so much culture that we can learn from. And the more connected we are personally, the stronger we become. So in 1 year, I envision a Las Vegas where we may no longer talk about the East-West division, and where we will just really be together and learn from each other, be curious about each other. When is the last time somebody asked you, what is your story, and actually listened, right? We have so much international experience here that we can learn from and implement. So with my national, international, and global experience, I would humbly ask for your vote, because I would like to make those kinds of changes happen shorter time rather than 5 years to wait more time. Thank you.
Because I'm a millennial, I'm gonna take a selfie with you all. All right. Alexis Tocqueville was this French guy who came to the United States like 200 years ago and wrote a really thick book. Really not so interesting, but one thing that he wrote was, local institutions, local governments are the school of democracy in the United States. I want to just comment as a political scientist, seeing that there are 3 passionate individuals who are willing to step up in these positions, come here, have this civic, engaged, difficult debate, from my point of view, from my analysis, means that Las Vegas City has a good future. When we do not have people stepping up to take these roles, when we do not make these institutions available to the public, then the quality of democracy diminishes. So I want to thank you all for coming, and I want to thank you all for your wonderful time, your wonderful comments, and for the last thing I will do.
Well, thank you for hosting.
Yeah, thank you.
Is to basically just read out the last couple of questions that we didn't get to really talk about directly, but I'm sure that you have kind of like mentioned some of them. One of them is, Please describe your thoughts about gentrification, how you will address this concern in Las Vegas. How can you bring greater environmental justice to our community, helping us to be more resilient in climate emergencies? I think we talked about that pretty much. What is your understanding of how the state of New Mexico regulates public drinking water systems? What are some of the programs available to the city to assist us? I thought we needed another 2 hours to discuss this. Oh, good question. And another question that we kind of always allude, but it's another question that I thought we might need 2 hours to discuss, so I didn't want to really get into it, is why is it important that candidates be born and raised in Las Vegas? And that concludes our forum today. Oh, sorry, Chief Romero has an announcement.
Welcome, everybody. New Mexico Islands University has changed their policy, not policy, but we are operating under clear bag, standard operating procedures. So the next two forums, clear bag is in effect. Thank you.